And we are live. Okay, go ahead, Alicia.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to your favorite place on the internet. Or if it's not, it will be. That's becoming like my catchphrase for the beginning of the stream. But hey, so nice to see everyone again. Today we have new amazing special guests as per usual. We have Ryan right here. Hi, Ryan. And we
Hey, Ray.
have my friend Sean Mundy as well. Hi.
Hello. Hi. Thank you
And
so much
I
for having me.
am and I am obviously always accompanied in company of my co-host Fesk right here.
Hey.
Peace. And I am Alicia, for those who were wondering what my real name is. So, what's going on today is that, as per usual, if you're not familiar with Heal the Deal, we have a conversation every 2 weeks where we invite people to just chit chat about everything from mental health, struggles on personal life things, or, in the NFT community as well, because this is very much related to crypto art and NFTs in general. But we are open to all creatives as well. This is a very open discussion and a place to feel a bit more, vulnerable and comfortable in that sense. Um, and we usually start, as per usual, as just asking everyone how they feel, basically, and how they've been feeling lately, what everyone has been doing as well. So I want to start with Ryan, because we never met before. And I'm eager to know about you and how this year has felt for you, because I assume that you onboarded this crazy train wreck as very much like everyone, like this year. So how have you been feeling, and like, do you face any struggles, or is there anything you want to share with us today?
Yeah, no, I mean, this year's been such a trip. I mean, from the start of it. I mean, I kind of basically got in right at the start of 2020, like pretty much January. So, and ever since then, it's been just a whirlwind.
Hmm.
And I think for the most part, if I zoom out in the macro, it's overwhelmingly positive. I think like just the experience as a whole, and just from being able to get my artwork out there to thousands of new people that I didn't know before, to being a part of cool, awesome communities, being able to make a hefty living, even as a freelancer. Like I wasn't doing terrible before, but like this is a whole
Hmm.
nother level of kind of financial freedom. But at the same time, I mean, like there's definitely like a whole ton of ups and downs that come with all that. Like you don't just get a huge up and not have any kind of down along the way. And yeah, I think like the thing that like has been interesting for me is like just the time allocation, because I think like this space demands a lot of time. And it's cool, like because I'm surrounded by a bunch of awesome people, but at the same time, I'm sacrificing my home life, my relationship life, my friends, stuff like that. And I think like that's been an interesting kind of like outside of the ups and downs, like with your art, because I think we all have that, and that's a different kind of discussion that we'll probably talk about later on. I think from a life sense, trying to manage my time and trying to just take moments to step back, be like, oh, I don't need to be on Twitter Spaces right now or Clubhouse. Like I'm going to spend some time with my girlfriend, or I'm going to call my grandma, or I'm going to do stuff like that. These have all been like kind of learning kind of curves, because I think like the space moves so fast, it feels like you're in a time warp. But then you look back and you realize, like, oh shoot, like I just didn't talk to my family for 2 weeks. You know what I mean? And I think like there's been interesting kind of roads with that, and learnings from that. But I think it's hopefully all good. I think like hopefully like that's like this is really just a sped up learning curve for life in general. Like, and I can only imagine this stuff kind of becoming more and more a thing when it's not just myself and my girlfriend, but it's like a family, I mean, with kids and a whole different new set of responsibilities. So overall, I'm feeling great right now. I'm lucky. I have this series Ventures that's doing pretty well on OpenSea. I have another series on Maker's Place, Simpler Times, that's doing really well too. And yeah, we're rounding out the year, and now it seems like crypto is skyrocketing, which is, I think it's going to be interesting for the NFT space to see how that all nets out. I think we're all kind of tiptoeing around like one ETH is one ETH, but last time we went to all-time highs did not feel like that. So, but yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now. But even regardless of what happens the rest of the year, it's been a blast. So, yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that amazing insight. I feel like you picked on a lot of topics that I want to touch base on after, especially on the, disconnection type of thing. In the sense of being disconnected from real life in general, I feel like that's something we tend to just divert a bit into if we are not too cautious about it. So this is something we're going to talk right after. But in the meantime, I just want to jump to Sean right now. Hi, Sean.
Hey.
Sean and I recently met for the first time IRL. Wow. This is crazy because it's finally the time where you can meet the people you were talking to online. And it's crazy because it feels like you've known each other for a long time. Things flow pretty much easily with everyone I've been meeting. And Shana, I've been obviously really mesmerized by your work before, but when we talked last time, we didn't really talk about how you felt since you entered this journey, especially as a former photographer as well. This is a really different field of work in my opinion. That is starting to get more and more value in this space, and I kind of want to have your point of view on that and a bit of your story and how you feel in this community.
For sure, and thank you again so much for having me, all of you. I really
Yay.
appreciate it. Kind of similar to what Ryan was saying. I got into the space back in early 2021. So really, I think January is when I finally did the few weeks of research and figuring out the logistics of what is crypto art, how does this work out. I knew that this was obviously a huge opportunity. Even at the time, photography wasn't really a thing in the space at all. But I saw the potential and I saw, okay, well, if this does become a thing, I want to at least position myself in the proper way to kind of be ready to pounce kind of thing. So before I even bought any crypto, before I applied for any platforms or minted anything, I just spent weeks just watching a lot of YouTube videos, learning about the kind of building blocks of the actual industry, like what is proof of stake, what is proof of work, what are all these things, a little bit of the history of it and such. And eventually I figured out how to buy ETH and all that. I did a little bit of investing, just kind of actually swimming in the water for a bit before diving deeper. But even before that, I really found out about all of this through local legends here. I'm from Montreal, and Euphoria and Fuckrender are two goats, and just seeing their work skyrocket was super awesome. And I just kept seeing the words tokenizing, minting, things like that. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I've never heard these words in my life, but whatever, it's probably nothing. And then it kept happening over and over. So I was like, okay. And that was the impetus of me looking into this. I was like, well, these guys are doing it. There must be something here. Because these are very talented artists who are pretty successful in their fields. There's got to be something here. But I saw no photography. So that's why I was kind of apprehensive. And that's what led into the maybe I'll figure this out, but I'm not going to dive in right away kind of thing. But since then, I got onboarded by Nate Hill, another awesome artist. He helped me figure things out with Super Rare and everything. To this day, I think photography is still obviously there are massive projects that are doing super well, like Twin Flames and Drift stuff is doing ridiculously well. But as a whole, I think photography still has a lot to prove of itself. Those projects have done really well, but I think a lot of people in the space probably look at investing in a smaller artist who's doing photographs or any photo-based NFTs as much more speculative, a bit riskier. Because for myself, it seems like 3D art and basically anything not lens-based is more standardized. I think even if you just look at the history of NFTs and crypto art, there's not a lot of photography. There's not a lot of video work. There's some people, pockets, but as a whole, not so much. So, but what everybody says, the community has been super welcoming. The photo space in particular was kind of at a weird point where a lot of photographers, especially on Twitter, it's a lot of people are very tribal in that sense, and I'm sure everybody can kind of understand what I'm saying, even without NFTs. But a lot of photographers who weren't into it got into it, myself included. Were skeptical at first, like everybody, but yeah, it's been like a really hectic, in the best possible way, kind of year. Like similar to what Ryan was saying, like regardless of what happens and regardless of the money, like I learned a lot. I made some money on the side, which is awesome. I made new connections. I met new people like yourself, which is awesome. But it's definitely made me have to look at the way I interact with social media, the way I interact with technology, the way I interact with myself, comparisons, these kind of things, FOMO especially. Like there's so many times where I will like, and this is more trading, but it's very similar for art as well, where I will like take some profits and then it'll shoot up. You're like, God, why am I so stupid? Like, what's wrong with me? No. But like, it's literally the most volatile market. It's a volatile market inside of the most volatile market. So it's like, you have to learn to forgive yourself. And like, it's literally my first like run at all. So I'm a literal noob. So yeah, that's how I'm feeling. It's hectic, but in the best way. Trying to learn a lot, as much as I can in the process, and help people along the way.
Amazing. I'm so happy to have you around, because I feel like having insight on your experience, on a different field of the community, and seeing you still feeling comfortable, and being welcomed by the community is really comforting for me in a way, because I feel like, it makes sense, and it makes everything just fall into place. I feel like we're always talking about the community as really welcoming, etc. But I'm always just worried about people feeling, put a little aside, or just like, I don't know. I don't want people to feel like they do not belong here.
For sure.
So it's comforting to hear that this sense is being transported into all of the fields of the community. So whether it's photography, whether it's 3D art, I was feeling like that myself, because I do abstract work, and I was like, this is not going to make it as an
Right.
NFT, but eventually it happens. So, I've been there as well. So thank you for sharing about that. Fesk, my dear Fesk, how are you? I know it's been crazy for you lately.
It's been crazy. But the thing is, it's been crazy in a different way, right? Because especially down here in Brazil, COVID being really bad, now it's finally starting to like settle down. So since the beginning of the year, pretty much, like it was super hectic, as Ryan was saying, like, but it was hectic in my home, in my computer, in my safe space. And like these past few weeks, in the hopes of traveling to New York, I actually went into a mission of catching a plane, traveling to another state just to get the vaccine in time to New York, right? It was pretty fucking madness, right? And it was the first time, like in a year, that I had to experience both the freelance life, the NFT life, while not in my home and in my computer. So I was in the airport, and Jesus fucking Christ, like mechas are dropping and like in being reviewed and all those stuff, and like people in the Twitter spaces, as Ryan said, like, okay, should I jump into the Twitter spaces, or maybe like focus on the plane that I need to catch like in 20 minutes, So like all these stuff was a pretty new experience for me, because it was the first time that I tried to handle all that while in the road. So yeah, it was pretty interesting. And on top of that, like 2 days ago, I deeply interacted with a hate thread on Twitter, which was really damn interesting. So yeah, this past few week was interesting to say the least.
Interesting, because I feel like you've learned a lot about yourself, but also others. I feel like that's the vibe I'm getting from what you say, because you feel it feels like you had that realization of like the things you do for for crypto and NFTs, and how you tend to forget about yourself as well, and the things you have to do on this side, just like Ryan was talking about, with just relationships and like IRL responsibilities as well, etc. So I feel like it kind of ties into that realm as well. And of course, the hate threads is a big topic we're going to address as well, because it hurts, it hurts, and for it not to hurt, I feel like you have to understand and see things on another perspective. So yeah, anyways, thank you guys for just sharing about that, for that little intro. Everyone was like really good at doing it. I feel like we gathered a lot of information I want to talk about, but I want to jump out on something, you know, Ryan said. So you mentioned that indeed there's a sense of like being disconnected from reality, or at least that's what I get from what you said. I want to know a bit about what do you guys think about that? Is it easy for you to manage, you know, family relationships on the side? I know I personally had to really upgrade my boundaries this year because, well, mostly because obviously we started kind of living together with my partner. So, well, I had to make time for him. But also because I was seeing that I was way too involved on Twitter, etc. So I really had to push my boundary further. And yeah, I just want to know, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it sounds like we have a pretty similar kind of relationship. You know, I live with my girlfriend too, and kind of really when we got into this space was January, when that was kind of the second run of lockdowns, kind of in Los Angeles. You know, we had the ones earlier in the year, and then new ones again in winter. And yeah, like we kind of just hopped on Clubhouse a lot. And it was fun, but there was nights where we were just like on these. I checked my phone like at one point. And it was like you've been on like you're averaging 10 hours a day, like on your phone, and that's a
Yeah.
lot. That's just like staring at my phone. I think at some point it probably even went up to 12. You know, when we're really engaged in Clubhouse. And when you're in it, you're right. You're totally disconnected from the reality that you're in. I think like in some ways it would be interesting, and I try to imagine this sometimes. Like, what if there's like a spy cam in the room and just like watching me just go like just talking to my phone for hours and hours and hours on end, you know? And yeah, it's been a learning kind of curve to be able to handle that in a healthy way, because like there are obvious benefits to being online a lot and being engaged, especially being engaged when you're online. You know, like you'll see that with the engagement that you get back. You know, you kind of get back what you put in, but there are also times where I was just kind of doing nothing and making it a habit, and these moments aren't terribly productive. You know, and I saw a little bit of that not only with my mental health but also my physical health. You know, like I was like, oh shit, I put on like 10 pounds because I'm just talking on a voice app and drinking beer like 6 times a week. Like, what am I doing? Like, you know, so I had to take a decent look in the mirror, you know, and that kind of happened really, it was kind of well timed with that first kind of crash a little bit before then, you know, kind of like late April was the first time, you know,
Yeah.
there's a little bit of like of an NFT dip, you know, like it was kind of like, oh, okay, here's this is what I'm coming out of. It's a little bit of a break. Crypto crashed off a little bit. And then yeah, and then it was kind of a new era, which was kind of a little bit more chill, you know, like I started dropping stuff on Hen, wasn't really as focused in the money side of it, took back on client work again. And yeah, I think like still was learning a lot, and just now getting to the point where I'm feeling a little bit more comfortable of what a better time allocation is to the NFT space, and also to my life and relationships around me. And yeah, trying to actually kind of be a little bit more scheduled out with that as well. Just setting time limits on on how long I'm on my phone and stuff like that is starting to be helpful. But yeah, no, it's been a struggle. It's been a struggle because like I think when we're in the metaverse in whatever way that is, like it is a time suck and you don't even realize it. You know, like you don't realize the effects that it's having on the people around you almost until it's just a little bit too late. You know, and there's a reaction, whether you get an argument with your partner, or whether you miss a birthday, or whether you do something like that. You know, and like, oh crap, dude, like
Yeah.
that feels like shit. Like I'm glad I got 20 more likes on Twitter today, and now I just feel like shit because I was kind of a dick and just didn't remember something that I was supposed to that was more important than myself. So yeah, that's a little bit of my experience, and it's going to be always a learning curve, but hopefully it gets better and better as time goes on.
Yeah, I would be
Very
super
interesting.
suspect of anybody who had the capacity to find that balance right away. I feel like there's no way. It just especially with something like this where the opportunity cost on both ends is really high. So like you could potentially miss some really important like real life events like you were just saying, or you could potentially like miss an interaction with a future collector. You could miss a drop. You could miss like an auction. Like there's, for me, I'm not used to that kind of like, obviously social media and everything is fast paced by nature, but I think this just like cranks it up to 11 where it's like the stakes are never higher. Whereas before, like you were saying, oh, like I got a few more followers. That's really cool, but there's not like a price tag associated with that. Whereas with this, if you don't do X, you could potentially lose a sale or you could potentially miss out on an opportunity. So that's been my biggest struggle, and kind of learning to turn that off and then not check my portfolio and to like not second guess everything to death. Like I've always been that kind of person. So this just really like puts a magnifying glass on everything and has forced me to, like you were saying, take a look in the mirror and be like, all right, if I don't stop doing this, this is like borderline addictive like traits. Like you need to notice that before it gets too bad and like things fall to the wayside that really shouldn't.
Yeah.
It kind of reminds me of the early days of MMORPG, right? Like
yes,
World of
100%.
Warcraft and all of that, you know? Those people like were kind of making like interviews of people who were addicted to MMORPG, etc., and just missing everything and just not like going out, etc. And I feel like it kind of reminds me like that. I have a reminiscence of that. Ooh,
sorry, it's Josh
calling?
drops. Yeah, hold on.
Who's calling? It's Ghostbusters.
No, it's my timer for Josh drop. Sorry.
Okay.
Shout out to Josh.
But shout out to Josh. Josh is having his nifty getaway draw. Fesk has an alarm for that because see, we take no breaks. So that kind of ties into what we were saying,
really well.
Right?
But sorry, go ahead.
No, it's interesting. It's funny because that actually tells a lot, you know. I was thinking about that because I feel like I feel really lucky to have my partner being involved in NFTs as well, like from a distance, of course, but like he really enjoys NFTs, you know, learning about NFTs is really interested in all just projects. You know, we we say GM to everyone to each other like on the morning, etc. So it's wag me and all of that. So it's really interesting, and I feel super grateful for that because I don't know how it would be if I wasn't with someone who was involved as well at some level into this, because I feel like I don't know, I feel like I would be sacrificing one or the other, and it feels really wrong at times, you know. It feels really wrong. Fortunately enough, we don't have this problem. We have like we are on the same page. So if there's a drop on the weekend and we had other plans, we're just like, we can't do that because there's a drop at 10 a.m. on Sunday. So we need to cancel the restaurant or something. Anyways, but it's funny, but I know not everyone can do this, and I feel like it's important to just check in with your partner and your family and all of that, because sometimes it can be hurtful as well, because your siblings and your partners and your family can just, you know, not judge you, but like kind of have that bad feeling about what you're doing, and they just don't understand what you're doing, and that kind of that can make people feel bad about themselves and what they do, and it can make them in a bad place in a way. Does that make sense, you know? And I don't want that, because it's really difficult. That's why a community is there, of course, to support those people, etc. When their actual people in real life would not support what they're doing. But yeah, I was just thinking about that the other day, because we have this community, but sometimes we can feel alone IRL as well. And you know, that's normal. You feel alone IRL. So yeah, meeting people. I guess that if you have people from the metaverse living near you, just try and perhaps like meet them with safety measures, of course.
Right.
But yeah. Anyways, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I gotta say that for me, like managing like relationships with the NFT space, it's a new thing, right? Because I'm single right now, and like I've been single the whole pandemic, but like because the pandemic lasted so long and it's still lasting down here in Brazil, like only now it's becoming more like okay to meet other people and do like small reunions and small events, right? So right now I'm for the first time in like a couple of years, I need to handle my relationships better, and like how many times I've meet with my friends, and like it's okay to go out like for a whole Sunday with a friend and miss out on a possible job and opportunity and stuff like that. So it's something that I'm learning to handle right now. Maybe a little bit late compared to other people because of like the Brazil situation and stuff like that. But it's kind of interesting for sure.
No, it's never too late. I feel like it's always the time to learn those things, and you will learn more and more as you go. My partner actually says something in the chat, so I'm gonna read it. See, involvement. He says like you need to remind yourself why you do this. We do this for the fun of contributing to a community. It can grow to a kind of gambling addiction if you're not like cautious, obviously.
I was just thinking the same thing in terms of like goals, and like obviously FOMO is like a thing, but like why do you feel that way? Like if there's a threshold you're trying to reach, once you reach it, will it actually go away? Probably not. So like investigate that, like, and I do the same thing where it's like, for example, I'm sure everybody can relate to this, but like if you knew what you had now like 3 years ago, how would you have felt then? Like you'd probably be like, no way, like this is impossible. But but at the same time, you still feel the same way you feel right now. It helps to like have that perspective, but you still need to kind of do the work today and be like, okay, but every time I need to remind myself, like, holy shit, I've done XYZ. Like I didn't think this was possible years ago, and now like I should be way happier about this, or I should not be constantly looking for the next thing. I should be able to like smell the roses and like enjoy life a bit. Like that's isn't that the point? You know, like you're not trying to reach success to like keep going to the top. Like I don't know. That's my opinion, at least. Like I'm just not that kind of person, so I don't. I can't relate to people who are just like, I'm gonna grind till I die. It's like, nah, I'd like to just kind of like do what I want. Like,
no, I feel that way a lot right now. You know, I've been kind of thinking that. Like on one end, like I feel like my belly's full. You know, like I feel like it's regardless of what happens, I'm in a pretty dang good place, to be honest. You know, like even zooming out, like you know, like I could. If crypto, even if I cashed out like all my crypto investments right now, that's like beyond a year's salary at this point. And I do think like it's been a trip for me a little bit, and I think for probably all of us to a certain degree. Like I've always been relatively competitive, you know, so I think like even though I'm having success, you look outward and there's someone that's having more success. There's always going to be someone having more success, you know. And I think with crypto or with the NFT space or even crypto trading stuff, it's like that's very visible. It's very in your face. You know, it's like you just saw your friend make $5 million in a day, and you're stoked for them, but you're like, oh fuck, I didn't do that.
When me?
Do that? Yeah. Am I even going to be able to do that? You know what I mean? And I think like it takes a step back to be like, all right, I'm stoked for this person regardless, for the most part. You know, stoked for any designer, any artist making money off of their own art. And then it's like also though, like just really take a step back and like just hey, like I feel like if a lot of us we're talented, we might not have our moment like right now, our super huge moment right now, but it's kind of like I don't know, like trading or crypto trading, like it's typically time in the market instead of timing the market. Yes, you have your occasions of someone like maybe Kid 8's a great example. Kid 8 went from like small following, hand drops, etc. to a massive PFP project in 3 months. You know what I mean? Like, and that's very visible. You definitely see that, and that's super rad. But you can't hold yourself to that same standard. It could be all of us, you know, like we fast forward to 2024, and that's when we have like our big moment where everything clicks that we've been working for in that moment, you know. And I think like we all say we're early. And if we really believe that, why are we all so stressed out about like missing out in the moment, you know?
Yeah, Yeah, and like the kid data example is really good. Like it's impressive if you start looking at some people like have Kid 8, you have Nest, you have like Ravi. I don't know if you know Ravi Vora. It's a photographer as well that dropped like a AI collection that went nuts. You know, so it's interesting how like different people reach different levels of success in different timestamps. Like it's impossible to compare yourself with others. And as you said, like if you're early, we shouldn't be that worried. But then again, we always hear like bear market's coming, and Jesus Christ. So we are like, okay, if we're not successful right now, maybe we need to wait the bear market to pass until we have our moment to shine, and all of this type of stuff kind of gets into your head and stuff. But yeah, we overall need to be more chill, and we still have years ahead of us, and we will get there.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, I feel like, of course, there's toxicity and positivity in everything we say or do, so you kind of want to just be mindful of that. And even if you can be prepared as much as you can and as much as you want, but the reality of the thing is that you don't control things in life. There's just the impression of controlling things by organizing them and all of that, but at the end of the day, if something has to happen outside of your control zone, it will happen. I've experienced that myself when I was like, for example, dropping my second Nifty Getaway collection late April, actually. I thought everything was under control. I had all of the assets, the prices, the everything right, and I made sure to double check, triple check with my curator and all of that, and yeah, the fact is that it didn't happen as I expected it to happen, and that's fine. But the reality is that I had expectations. And that's where things get a bit complicated is when you have expectations for those things. When you actually enter this space without expectation, at least that's what I think most of us did, is to enter the space and be like, oh, it's fun, I want to give it a try, but I don't know where I'm going to land.
Hold on just a second. Apparently for some reason, like, the stream stopped streaming. It is streaming.
What?
It is streaming, but it has no video. People just mentioned in the chat.
No!
Yeah, I'm checking right now. I have no idea. We can reset the stream. Yeah. That can work.
Can you hear us?
I don't know
if people hear us? Why?
Probably because it's raining a lot right now. It's welcome to Brazil internet. It starts raining, it fucks it up.
Fantastic holiday destination.
But yeah, we can reset the stream and
let's reset. Let's reset and record the second one as well. What was I saying? Let's chat a bit while we do that, right?
Yeah, I can maybe talk about my experience, because it was kind of nuts. It was a hate thread about NFTs. It was a guy that printed a lazy lion. I think it's a project. It's not huge, but it's not small either.
It's about everybody.
Yeah. So he put it on the wall, like a huge ass lazy lion, and someone oh my god, this is fucking terrible. This is destroying art, and this is pathetic. And it became a long-ass hate thread on NFTs. And a follower of mine actually tweeted on the thread saying, there are a bunch of generative art and collections, but there are a lot of good artists on the NFT space doing one-on-ones. The guy tagged me and put a piece of mine in there. There he goes, straight off the bat, a bunch of people calling me money launderer, there's a guy. The thing is that there's a guy that replied, this is a piece of shit artwork or something like that. And I was okay, fuck one hater. Fuck this shit, But I started to get like really damn impressed how many fucking people liked that comment, right? And I replied to that. I always replied with sarcasm. I was like, "Oh, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it." And the guy kind of like commented again. Of course, internet haters, they always keep on going, you know. And the guy commented, "Oh, do better," shit like that. And anyhow, but I was really impressed, like by the people that I was following like the likes. Once people like the first hate tweet, they like all the other hate tweets like in succession. And like I was tapping the profiles and I was checking like the people, always like between 13 and 19 years old, a bunch of depressed fucking tweets and stuff like that. So it was damn interesting and sad at the same time, because I couldn't believe my eyes how many, like the hate comment got like 400 likes, shit like that. And I was like, wow, how many people are willing to, you know, deposit hate into something that has nothing to do with them, right? And I don't know, it was interesting to me because I'd never seen anything like that. And just to wrap it up, like I was tapping some of the profiles, and this one I was really fucking sad. I tapped on a profile of a musician, of an artist, and he basically tweeted about a graffiti on New York. Like apparently because of NFT week on New York, there are a bunch of graffitis of CryptoPunks, of Bored Apes, and this guy actually took a picture and was like, "Oh, I'm getting together a bunch of other artists so we can tag all these fucking graffitis in New York," because apparently the guy hated NFT so much that the guy was willing to tag all the other graffitis about NFTs. And there you go, fucking 30,000 likes on that tweet. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, you know? So it was a double thing, like the amount of people willing to hate on somebody else's art, and the amount of people that hate NFTs to a point of tagging a graffiti that has nothing to do with them, you know. So yeah, it was crazy.
I wonder how many of those people would say that to your face if you were like, "Hey man, I'm Fez. Like, yeah, I'm an artist. I sell my work as NFTs." If you know what I mean? Like, I think like so many people get to hide behind this like internet shield of like, "I'll never see." No one would ever be that much of an asshole to like you in like real life, or to, you know what I mean? Like, so I think that's interesting. I think there's also something interesting though. Like, if everybody loves what's going on, or like loves your art or loves every bit about it, you're probably not at your fullest potential, you know. Like I think it's really interesting. I mean, like you look at some of the most wildly successful people in entertainment, like Justin Bieber gets like a wave of hate every single time he does something, you know what I mean? And like it's almost like there's this entity in the world that's like bigger than any one of us, but same kind of vibe, you know. Like it matters so much, and it's going to get a lot of hate because it's making such a big deal. And it is kind of weird that like, yeah, I've never engaged with one of those kind of level tweets where it's like the really, really big ones. Like sometimes I do, and then like sometimes, and then I just find myself getting mean. Like, you know, I kind of find myself commenting like, "Oh, cool, like you got 10 followers. Like how's, like," I turned into like this bully side of me. You know, I was like, when I was younger, I was like a jock and stuff like that, and like very used to conflict, very used to talking shit. But like, it doesn't feel good, especially when it's like no, I'm like actually talking shit to someone that's probably legitimately super depressed, you know, like has no followers on Twitter, you know, basically talking to avoid most of their life. And I'm going to be like, "Oh, because I'm a little bit pissed off that you're talking shit on this thing that's still, I'm still wildly successful in it, but you did one tweet, now I'm pissed off, and now I'm going to really go at you." That doesn't feel good. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, if I engage in like the hate tweets, it's not even really hate tweets. It's more like, I'll see like other crypto people that are like established and like full grown adults, and like they're having that kind of Discord, because it's like, okay, like that's different. You know, I did that the other day briefly to like the Wolf of All Streets. You know, he was like kind of like, "Remember when you used to be able to support an artist and like go buy an album or cover and be like, yeah, I supported this artist." And I was like, "Yeah, remember when artists were getting constantly fucked over and penny pinched for decades?" Like, like what are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? But And then he responded good, and like I responded, like we're on the same page, you know, like we're just having a discourse that way. But the true hate threads, you know, like every time like a hip hop artist or something like that buys a PFP, like that is a different level of chaos, like different level of chaos. And I never really even looked into who was responding on those things either. You know what I mean? You just
It
see
is
the chaos
interesting.
and
It
like,
is really interesting to tap on their profiles and stuff like that. In my case, overall was like this persona of like a teenager, mildly depressed, with like a few followers talking to a void, you know. So that's the reason I never replied to any of those tweets, because you never know who is on the other side, and I mean it's a little bit sad, right? But yeah,
it is, because you don't know who's on the other side. They don't know who is on this side as well. So you don't know, but you're actually hurting each other, right? Because that person is most probably hurting. You are hurting as well, because you're facing obviously all of your personal traumas, your personal history, your personal struggles, and this person has the same challenges as well. It's just that it's like that. I don't know. Like you end up on one spectrum, like on one spectrum or the other, right? And that's what opposite things do. They kind of want to always challenge themselves, and it happens easily on social medias because that's the gateway for these thoughts to flow. And the more the phenomenon of NFT grows, the more the general way of thinking about it becomes mainstream. But when it becomes mainstream, it allows all of the negative thinking to just settle in as well in that general way of thinking. And so it's really just, if something is niche, you know, it's just going to be the niche people talking about their niche things, and they're just going to just enjoy themselves. But as soon as you introduce more people in the Coliseum, that's when the real wars start to happen.
Yeah.
And people point at you. So you kind of want to take everything with a grain of salt, because you don't know who those person are. They don't know you. And it's difficult because sometimes it just hurt, and it makes you angry, because you're just like, why are you not understanding what I'm saying? Why can't you just be in my place, in my mind, and think the way I think? But the fact is that you can't do that, nor for NFTs, nor for any other topic in life. It's really difficult. Again, we come back to just controlling things. You cannot control the way people think.
Yeah.
If someone is settled in their mind on an opinion, there's really little chances for you to make them shift their way of thinking. They have to do that by themselves.
But it's hard. Kind of make me... Sorry, go ahead.
Thanks. I was going to say, I think the issue with a lot of like any conversation on the internet by nature is like, if anybody's going to be talking about it, like the vast majority of people are not talking about it like in a good faith way. They're not there to have like a very civil, like, let's all be calm and have like a conversation as humans. It's like, no. Like, that's too much nuance. Like, let's just go 0 to 100 real quick. Like, NFTs are like burning the planet. You're all pieces of shit. You should all die. Like, I don't know. It's never like, there's never any room for that kind of nuance. So I think unfortunately that places people who make them in the position, like a defense position, where you need to like be like working on rhetoric and messaging. And that's why sometimes I'll check out these threads like you were talking about, and like sometimes people who do NFTs are like kind of assholes back. It's like you can't do that, unfortunately. Like, they are like, that is the majority opinion, unfortunately, still in the world. I think people are warming up to it more and more. But like, if you were to poll a person in the street and be like, yo, what do you think about NFTs? Like, isn't that thing that's like bad for the environment that people are making like millions of dollars on? It's not like it's just the messaging, I think, needs to be a bit better from like the NFT community in general. And it's obviously difficult because it's decentralized by nature, or like that is what like it's working towards. So when you have all these different pockets of people and everybody can kind of go out and like be an asshole and then ruin the reputation of everybody else, or like make one mistake and then everybody is like a part of that mistake now. I think we just need to do better. And I think once proof of stake is a thing for like major chains, then there really is no argument at that point. Like if you don't like the scarcity argument, like that's okay, like because it's literally the exact same for the real world. Like people will be like, oh, I can just right click save it. It's like, yeah, you could also like rip a photo from the internet and sell it as a print, and no one would know if it's not you. But like, I don't know, it's frustrating.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really damn hard, and it makes me a little bit angry when like the person on the other side shuts down to any possible conversation, right? Because I had situations back in February and March that some really famous Brazilian artists got ripped off for NFTs. Like people copy and pasted like his artwork and sold it as NFT, right? He's a really famous artist, like the type of guy that if gets into NFTs in the right way, it will make a lot of money. But the guy like literally shut it down to any possible explanation about NFTs, right? Because actually NFTs happened for him in a really bad way, with people stealing his work and getting money out of it.
Terrible first impression.
Yeah, terrible first impression. But it was it makes me a little bit angry and anxious, like because I'm trying to help. Sit down with me for like 30 minutes and let me explain, and you will see that it's not that bad. But people actually shut down, and it's I don't know.
Yeah, that's a tough sell, because especially if that's the person you're talking with. It's not like a neutral person. Like, oh, I heard about this. What is it? It's like, I lost a lot of potential money from this, and like there's clearly a lot of scams going on, which unfortunately is the case. But yeah, that's difficult. That you're like defense on the defense at that point. Like you're really like in a corner. But yeah, no, I think the people who actually like see the potential in it will actually try to be a big good faith. But I think the vast majority of the public, in the same way that you have like surface level knowledge of any subject, if you see a headline, you see somebody talking about like, I don't know, 12-year-old made $5 million in a day. Most people are like, damn, like, why isn't that me? Why aren't I making that much money, kind of thing. So there's definitely an element of jealousy. There's definitely an element of just like sensationalism and ignorance, obviously. So it's like the trifecta of like the difficult things to, because if it's a part of your identity, especially if you're somebody who's not successful and you see people being successful, you're like, that's like an attack on my being almost, because I am not what they are. I want to be what they are. And instead of like using that as inspiration, you will like take that person down a peg, or try to in your mind at least. So yeah, we're, as much as like it's a really successful space and people are making like their lives are changing exponentially, like there's a lot of work to be done in terms of messaging and rhetoric, I think.
Absolutely. I think it's we're kind of experienced with the fact of being open, educating each other, being fine with making mistakes, etc. I think that the community itself is really aware of that, and just really self-aware in general, which makes it really difficult, because that means that other people coming from other community don't necessarily have that kind of aspect going on in their life, which means that perhaps they're not, learning things with other people, or just really into their own stuff, basically. So it's difficult for them to see our side of the matter, I guess, and that's fine. But obviously, whenever there's money involved into something, it will always be a problem, no matter what the topic is. It's always going to be
people get salty really fast, really fast.
Yeah, for sure.
Money rules the world. It is difficult. It's difficult because you don't even like, if you're meeting someone in real life, you're not going to be all about like, hey, NFTs are the shit, I make so much money, blah blah blah. No, you're just going to be like, hey, this is pretty awesome. I'm able to work on what I love, and it's funny because people want to support me for that. And you could have much more of a casual conversation. Perhaps the person would be still doubtful of that, but it would be more chill. I think that what Sean said about it's from 0 to 100 pretty quickly is super accurate, because that's the shortcut. That's how you make things buzz and how you get a reaction from people. So yeah, there's a difference from behaviors online, offline, and all of that. Hate will be different in different worlds, I guess. But I just hope that people are able to still go forward in their journey and don't feel too upset about those things, because if you started this journey, it's maybe because you felt that it was right for you. And so it was also the case for a lot of other people. So just, trust your gut. If you feel comfortable doing this, then do it. And if you don't feel comfortable doing it anymore, then perhaps take a step back. But that has to be your choice, not someone else's. That's my final 2 cents. And on that note, it's already 7 p.m.
It's been an hour with 10 minutes of pure panic with the stream failing.
Pure panic. Yeah, so sorry for that, for everyone who viewed this episodes, to our guests. We're not professional. We do not control anything or everything. So that's real life right here. That's how we do it. But in any case, it's been really amazing to just talk with you guys. I feel like we touched base on, different topics than we usually do. And I really enjoyed that. I hope you felt comfortable sharing about that. And I'm just really happy that we know more about you and just had the chance to connect today. So thank you for that.
At the end of the day, like, this stream is a big ass excuse to meet new people. That's just about it.
Really. It's just that. It's just us trying to chat with someone because we don't see people at all. We just stay at home and we see the same people every single day. So it's just it's just an excuse. So appreciate you for that. Thank you for entertaining my poor anxious brain. Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, on that note, sorry, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, I just said thanks so much for having us. It's been a great combo.
Of course.
Yeah, on the note, real quick, I will stop the recording right now. So say goodbye if you want to, because this will be on YouTube.